So I can point to two movies here. So first one is Top Gun.
When people hear the name NASA, they usually picture the moon, big rockets, and flags planted in gray dust. They think of a calm voice counting down and a feeling of trust. So when a new leader walks in, people look closely. They look even closer when that person has flown on private rockets. That person is Jared Isaacman. He is a billionaire pilot who flew to space on SpaceX rockets, and now he is set to lead NASA. That choice makes people ask hard questions. Here's the first thing to understand. NASA does not build most rockets anymore. NASA buys rides. Think of it like an airline. NASA used to own the planes. Now it just buys the tickets. The planes belong to companies like SpaceX or Boeing. NASA pays them to take people and cargo to space. This change is big because space is hard. It is not like flying a plane. A rocket must go sideways very fast to stay in orbit. That sideways speed keeps it from falling. That is what orbit means. It is like throwing a ball so fast that it keeps missing the ground as it falls. To do that, you need huge engine power. The engines burn tons of fuel in minutes. The power is like lighting tens of thousands of car engines all at once. SpaceX figured out how to land these rockets and bring them back. They land them on ships or concrete pads. That saves money. It is like reusing a car instead of throwing it away after one drive. That is why many people choose SpaceX. It works. It flies often. Numbers matter here. SpaceX has flown astronauts many times since 2020. Boeing has not yet flown a full crew safely on its own capsule for a regular mission. People worry about bias because Isaacman ran a company that did business with SpaceX. Bias means favoring a friend. Isaacman says he is not close friends with Elon Musk. He says SpaceX was simply the only option ready to fly. That part is true. When he flew, no other US company could send people up. The law says conflicts must be handled. You have to tell everyone about them. You have to step away from decisions or sell stock. Isaacman has promised to do all that. This is part of protecting resources and ensuring fair play. The real story here is not about one man. It is about a plan to build a base on Mars. Imagine a quiet meeting room where a simple idea gets said out loud. The first real base on Mars should be built fast. It should be built by one company. That company is SpaceX. The number being talked about is not small. It is likely in the low tens of billions of dollars. Think $10 billion or more. That is enough money to build about 20 large hospitals in the United States. This is a massive resource protection project for the future of humanity. This is not a full Mars city. This is a starter home on another planet. The deal would not be about fancy buildings. It would be about basics: shelter, power, air, water, food, tools, the stuff you need to not die. SpaceX would not just send people, it would send cargo first. A lot of cargo. The key to this plan is a rocket called Starship. It is a giant machine. It is taller than a 40-story building. It can carry more than 100 tons of cargo. 100 tons is about as heavy as 15 fully loaded pickup trucks. No other rocket can do that. That changes everything. Most rockets today are like throwing away a plane after one flight. You build it, fly it once, and dump it in the ocean. That costs a fortune. SpaceX wants to reuse Starship, land it, fix it, fly it again. That is why the cost drops and why Mars becomes possible. This is the difference in technical mastery. Getting to Mars is not like flying to the moon. The moon is about 3 days away. Mars is months away. You cannot just point a rocket and go. You have to wait for the right time. Earth and Mars line up about every 26 months. That is a little over 2 years. Miss that window and you wait again. That means planning is everything. Starship cannot carry enough fuel to go to Mars from Earth in one shot. That is where orbital refueling comes in. Think of it like gas stations in the sky. One Starship goes up and waits. Other starships bring fuel and pump it over, like filling a car. Once full, the Mars ship leaves. This has never been done at this scale, but SpaceX is trying to do it. This is a complex complex engineering challenge, part of the strategic intelligence needed for Mars. The first big step is that the Mars base plan does not start with people. It starts with machines. Dozens of Starship flights would go first. They would land robots, power systems, solar panels, and batteries. Think of a construction site before a house is built. You do not move in on day one. You prepare the ground. Mars is cold, very cold. The average temperature is about -80 degrees Fahrenheit. That is colder than Antarctica. The air is thin. You cannot breathe it. The pressure is so low that water boils at near room temperature. That means habitats must be sealed tight like a submarine. Any leak can kill you. One key part is using local stuff found on Mars. That means using Mars dirt and ice. Mars has water ice under the ground. It also has carbon dioxide in the air. SpaceX plans to use machines to turn water into oxygen for breathing and hydrogen for fuel. Combine hydrogen with carbon from the air and you get methane. Methane is rocket fuel. This is like making gasoline from air and dirt. It sounds crazy, but it has been tested on Earth. Shipping everything from Earth would be impossible because every pound costs money. Making fuel on Mars means Starship can come back. It also means future missions cost less. Without local fuel, Mars is a one-way trip. The timeline being talked about is bold. The target is a working base by 2030 to 2032. That is about 5 to 7 years from now. In space terms, that is very fast. NASA has struggled with big programs before. The Space Launch System rocket cost over $20 billion so far. That is enough to build about 40,000 schools. It flies once every year or two. Starship aims to fly many times per year. Space is about repetition. You learn by doing. One flight teaches a little, 10 flights teach more, 100 flights teach everything. NASA builds deep knowledge and tests carefully, which is good for science but bad for speed. Mars needs speed. It needs failures that teach lessons. SpaceX accepts that. NASA often does not. Boeing shows the other path. Their Starliner capsule took over 10 years and cost billions, yet it still struggles. Astronauts were stuck longer than planned on the space station. That hurts trust. This shows a clear competence hierarchy in space transport. The delay for the first crewed moon landing has pushed the trip to sometime in 2027. China says they will land people on the moon in 2030. Originally, the US was going to beat them by 4 years. Now it is only 3 years. Direct timeline comparisons like this show how the competitive scoreboard is tightening. Justice through consequences applies here. Companies that deliver fast, like SpaceX, get the next big job. Those that struggle, like Boeing with Starliner, see their role reduced. Engineers close to the program say the first Mars cargo ships could launch before any humans even train for Mars. That flips the normal order. Usually, humans come first. This time, the base comes first. Humans arrive later. That lowers risk. Cargo does not vote, and cargo does not die. Landing on Mars is another challenge. Mars has thin air, so parachutes barely work. Engines must do most of the slowing. Think of landing a skyscraper on one engine. SpaceX practices this on Earth. They land boosters upright, they crash many, but they learn. Each crash is data. These are learning failures, a key part of the information hunt. Starship uses special engines called Raptors. They can change their power smoothly, kind of like how you can press the gas pedal in your car a little or a lot. They go from 40% power to 100% power with everything in between. The older Russian RD-180 engines are more like an on-off switch. They are either at full blast or they are off. This matters because when you are trying to land a rocket, you need to be able to adjust the power very precisely to keep it balanced. It is like trying to balance on one foot. You need small adjustments. SpaceX rockets can do that. That is how they land. Rockets with those older engines cannot. This difference in technical mastery makes the reusable landing possible. The money involved is large but manageable. $10 billion sounds huge, but spread over 10 years, that is $1 billion per year. NASA's yearly budget is over $25 billion. This Mars base would take about 4% of that per year. Your tax dollars fund NASA to explore and learn. Using them to buy proven services instead of reinventing tools stretches them further. One SLS launch costs $4.1 billion, according to NASA's own Inspector General. That is billion with a B. For comparison, Starship is supposed to cost about $10 million per launch once it is fully working. One SLS launch costs 410 times more than one Starship launch. That same $4.1 billion could pay for 410 Starship launches. Or think of it another way, SpaceX could launch Starship every single day for more than a year for what NASA pays for one SLS flight. When you are trying to build stuff in space, those numbers matter a lot. That is the kind of cost comparison that drives major decisions. China is watching closely. China has landed rovers on Mars and has plans for human missions in the 2030s. They build rockets fast, but China does not have a reusable heavy rocket yet. They are trying, but they are behind on reuse. That matters for cost. Without reuse, Mars stays very expensive. Private companies cannot do Mars alone, but SpaceX is the first to build the tool that makes it possible. Starship is that tool. The base itself would likely be made of pieces you connect. Think shipping containers. You land one and connect it to another. You bury some under dirt for radiation protection. Mars has no strong magnetic field, so radiation hits the surface. Dirt blocks it. It is a simple solution, but hard to do with robots. Early habitats will be cramped and industrial. Later ones will be larger. Power is another problem. Solar panels work, but Mars gets less sunlight than Earth, about half as much. Dust storms can last weeks. That means batteries matter. The first base relies on many panels spread wide. Water is life. Mars water is frozen. You dig, melt, clean, and store it, all with machines. Every step can fail. That is why cargo first matters. Fix machines before people arrive. Companies that fail lose contracts. SpaceX gained trust because they showed results. Timeline pressure is real. If SpaceX misses the 2030 window, everything slips 2 years. That is the Mars cycle. That pressure forces decisions and simplicity. You cannot wait forever. Some worry about safety. They should. Mars is dangerous, but doing nothing is also a choice. A slow path may mean Mars never happens. A fast path risks failure. SpaceX chooses fast. This is strategic intelligence applied to the calendar. The final part is future positioning. A Mars base changes power. Whoever builds the first base sets the rules, the tools, and the standards. That matters long term. It is not about flags. It is about control of the road. In the end, this contract is not about Elon Musk. It is about a system, reusable rockets, cheap cargo, local resources, step-by-step building, like building the first railroad. Expensive at first, but essential later. If this first base works, the cost drops. The second base is cheaper, the third cheaper still. That is how cities start. One house, then two, then many. This is a pattern recognition of how large-scale ventures succeed. Mars sample return is another mission NASA is working on. It sounds simple. Go to Mars, pick up rocks, and bring them home. But even this job already costs about $11 billion. That is enough money to build hundreds of large hospitals or tens of thousands of homes. And that price is just for robots. No people, no beds, no food, just machines doing one job. This cost comparison highlights the difficulty of one-off robotic missions. That mission is hard because it has many steps. A rover drills rocks and puts them in tubes. Another lander finds them. A rocket launches from Mars, which has never been done. It meets another ship in orbit, then it flies home. If one wire cracks or one valve sticks, the mission is over. NASA thought this would cost $4 billion, then $6 billion, now $11 billion. Missions often grow in cost because every new safety system adds weight, and weight adds fuel, and fuel adds bigger rockets. Compare that to a Mars base. A base is about keeping people alive. People need air every second. Machines must pull oxygen from the soil or thin air. If the power goes out, the air stops. If the air stops, people die in minutes. Water is just as hard. 1 gallon weighs about 8 pounds. A family can use hundreds of gallons in a week. Shipping water from Earth costs too much, so a base must find ice underground and melt it. Power on Mars Mars is tricky. Solar panels work, but massive dust storms can cover the whole planet for weeks. Sunlight drops. If solar panels are the only power, the base goes dark. That is why people talk about nuclear power. It produces steady power day and night, but comes with political fear and technical risk. Food can be shipped at first, but not forever. A real base must grow food. That means greenhouses. Mars soil is toxic, so food must grow in clean systems. Shelter must block the cold and radiation. Usually this means burying habitats under dirt. Early estimates for the first small Mars habitats start around $10 to $100 billion. That would only cover a few living modules and basic life support. Elon Musk talks about a self-sustaining city. A city is different. It needs factories, workshops, doctors, and schools. To build a city, you must ship enormous amounts of equipment. Even if each flight cost only $10 million, 1,000 flights would cost $10 billion. Space is unforgiving. On Earth, if a pump breaks, you call a technician. On Mars, the crew is the technician. They must fix everything themselves. That means astronauts must be highly trained. Training takes years and costs money. NASA is designed to avoid risk because it uses public funding. Each safety layer adds cost. A Mars base requires a different mindset. You cannot design out all risk. You must accept some risk to move forward. Timeline matters too. Mars sample return might slip into the late 2030s. A Mars base timeline is even longer. The first humans might land in the 2030s or 2040s. A permanent base would come after that. A true city would take many decades. This competitive scoreboard creates urgency. Competition matters. China has landed rovers on the Moon and Mars. China moves faster in some ways because decisions are centralized, but China does not have a reusable heavy rocket yet. They are trying, but they are behind on reuse. That matters for cost. Reuse means landing a rocket and flying it again. It is the single biggest cost breaker in spaceflight. Without it, costs explode. Every decision has consequences. Cut cost and you raise risk. Add safety and you raise cost. A full Mars base contract is bigger than Mars sample return. It is like comparing repairing a single bridge to building an entire city from scratch. The real cost is commitment. Once people are there, you cannot walk away. If funding stops, people die. That is why Mars bases are hard politically. Governments change, budgets change. This is the resource protection element on a national scale. When people hear first Mars base, they often picture just a gas station. That is wrong. A real base means people living there, sleeping, eating, breathing, working. It means staying alive on a planet that wants you dead. Mars is cold, dry, and has almost no oxygen. A base has to fight all of that every day. Think of it like building a house in Antarctica, but you cannot open a window or call for help. The first thing a base needs is air. Machines must remove carbon dioxide and make oxygen. These machines must run all day, every day for years. If they stop, you have minutes. Next comes water. You drink it, cook with it, and split it to make fuel. You cannot ship enough from Earth, so the base must dig for ice, melt it, and clean it. The plan sends Starship ships to Mars. Each ship lands. Some become storage, some become homes, some bring machines. Over time, more ships arrive. They connect them, they build tunnels. The base grows piece by piece. Think of it like camping at first, then building a cabin, then adding rooms. The first crews will live inside the ships. Making fuel is hard. Machines must run for months before people arrive to make enough fuel to launch a ship back to Earth. If fuel is not ready, people are stuck. There was a real example of this risk during testing. One unit ran hot and almost failed. Engineers had about 30 seconds to shut it down. One engineer noticed a pressure spike and acted. That saved months of work. This moment of information hunt and quick action is key to competence. Boeing enters this story through past programs. They helped build rockets and capsules. The Starliner capsule faced delays and cost overruns. Each delay meant more money and less trust. That history matters because Mars demands reliability. Every bolt matters. The consequences of slow development are clear. Radiation is a big problem. Many assume thick walls solve it. They help. But water helps more. Water blocks radiation well, so water tanks can line the walls. This is clever because the thing you need to live also protects you. Another issue is gravity. Mars gravity is about 1/3 of Earth's. That weakens bones and muscles. Astronauts must exercise hours each day, or they may not be able to walk when they return. SpaceX has flown more than 90 launches in a single year. That is almost 2 per week. That pace builds skill. Each flight teaches something. Failures happen, but lessons stick. The first Mars base will not be pretty. It will be loud, cold, and cramped, but it will work. People often forget psychology. Isolation is hard. The base must include private space and mental health tools. One bad conflict can ruin a mission. NASA focuses on science while SpaceX focuses on transport. NASA tests habitats in deserts and Antarctica. These tests show what breaks and what people need. This partnership is messy, but it works. The first Mars base is not the goal. It is the proof. Proof that humans can live off Earth. Once that proof exists, costs drop and knowledge spreads. This is a clear pattern recognition of how new technologies are adopted. The most talked about window for the first cargo flights is the early 2030s. That is closer than the last time many people changed jobs. The core idea is simple. You send tools first. You send machines that make air and water. Only when those systems work do you send humans. The rocket comes in sideways, then flips upright and fires its engines to slow down. Several test vehicles exploded trying this, but testing fast matters. The final reveal comes when Mars becomes a place with people. That moment will belong to a nation that chose action over fear. That choice sits on a desk today.